Hey guys, I just want to start this distance learning thing off with a little bit of a review. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about what we were talking about last week we had class. Okay, and that was factoring. Okay, and we talked about the fact that factoring is kind of the reverse, right, of simplifying. So before we would have something like this, right, and then we would say simplify, and we would go to something like this. Okay, well now we're going to have something where it's been simplified, right? So we're going to have this, and then we're going to say factor, and so we want to go back to this. And remember, these things, they're still equal, they're the same, but one is simplified and one is factored, and we're going to use those each for different things kind of as we progress through this course. But right now we just need to know that we need to be able to go back and forth. Okay, and so right now, I'm just going to review the two different ways we talked about to factor to start with, okay? And the first thing we talked about was looking for a GCF, right? We always said look for a GCF first, right? And that was like really important, okay? And so what that means, right? The greatest common factor. So something everything can be divided by. So we're just going to start with one example that's like that. So 4y cubed plus 12y squared. And the instructions here would simply be to factor, right? Factor. And so we're saying, is there a GCF? And in this case, there is, right? So the 4, you can actually take a 4 out of both these numbers. And then what about the variable, the y? We've got y cubed and y squared. So that means we can take y squared out of both of them, okay? And so if we were to divide both these by 4y squared, we would end up with what here? Just a y. The 4's we cancel, and we use the subtraction or the division rule, right? So you end up with a y there, plus if we take a 4 out of that 12, we end up with just a 3. And then the y squared, they canceled, so it's just that. So we took out the GCF and we left with 4y squared times y plus 3. And if we were to distribute this back in, right, we would end up with the same thing because these are supposed to be the same. So that's an easy way to check. But this is your final answer if I had just said to factor. Okay, so that was the first way we talked about. The next thing we talked about was factoring trinomials, right? Trinomial, okay? And the standard form of a trinomial is ax squared plus bx plus c, right? A quadratic. And so we talked about how to factor these when a is equal to 1, okay? And I'm going to show you an example so you'll remember what that looked like for us. We talked about one maybe like x squared plus 5x plus 6, right? And we know how to factor that because a here is equal to 1, okay? And so if you remember back, we were looking for two numbers that multiplied, right? They multiplied to equal 6, and they needed to add to equal 5, okay? And so we would say, what two numbers multiplied to equal 6? 1 and 6. Do those add to equal 5? No, so that doesn't work. Then what's next? 2 and 3. Did those add to equal 5? Yes. So those are the two numbers we're looking for. And then we come back over to our trinomial, and we say x plus 2 times x plus 3. Okay, and we can always open up those parentheses and then just add whichever numbers or subtract if either of these have been negative to them. And then the way we checked our answer, right, is we could use a box, or you can FOIL, right, if you were a FOIL person, if you were a FOILer, and we'd say x plus 2 times x plus 3. We end up with x squared, right, 3x, 2x, and 6 in this box. And so that leaves us with x squared plus 5x plus 6. And if we look, that's the very same thing, right, that we started with, which is what we want, because factored form and simplest form, right, they should give us the same thing. So this is simplest form, right, and then this one is factored form, okay? So for this first day, we're just going to do a review. So you've watched this video, now you're going to go to answer, like, I think it's 7 questions on formative, just making sure we remember how to take out a GCF, remember how to factor trinomials if A is 1. Don't forget, sometimes we might have to take out a GCF out of something that looks like this first, right? There might be a GCF to start with, and then we have to factor the trinomial again, so don't forget that trick. But I know you guys got this, so go get to work.